Over 800 years ago, one man's conquests reshaped the world, and today, his blood still flows through millions, quietly influencing nations from China to Europe. This is the story of Genghis Khan's lasting legacy. Born as Temujin in 1162 on the windswept steppes of Mongolia, he was the son of Yisige, a minor tribal chieftain. His early life was brutal. At the age of 9, his father was poisoned by rival Tatars, leaving young Temujin's family destitute. His mother, Hoelin, struggled to protect him and his siblings, teaching him the harsh realities of survival on the Mongolian plains. From these harsh beginnings, Temujin began forging alliances and enemies alike. By 1186, he had united several Mongol tribes under his leadership. In 1206, at a great assembly known as a Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. This marked the birth of the Mongol Empire, destined to become the largest contiguous empire in human history. Genghis Khan's rise was ruthless but strategic. He used meritocracy, promoting generals based on skill rather than noble birth. He reorganized the Mongol army into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000 soldiers, ensuring discipline and loyalty. His leadership was brutal to enemies, but remarkably tolerant to conquered peoples who accepted Mongol rule, often allowing them to maintain local governance and religious freedom. From 1207 to 1227, Genghis Khan launched campaigns across northern China, Central Asia, and beyond. Cities such as Bukhara, Samarkand, and Kashgar fell to his armies, leaving a trail of destruction and innovation. He was not just a conqueror, he was a master strategist, employing intelligence networks, psychological warfare, and innovative siege techniques learned from Chinese engineers. By the time of his death in 1227, Genghis Khan had carved an empire stretching from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. Historians estimate that he was responsible for the deaths of up to 40 million people, nearly 10% of the world's population at the time. But it was not just destruction he left behind. His empire would lay the foundations for trade, cultural exchange, and a genetic legacy that survives today. Genghis Khan's death in 1227 did not mark the end of his empire. His sons and grandsons continued his campaigns, expanding Mongol rule across Eurasia. Ogedei Khan, his third son, became Great Khan in 1229 and completed the conquest of northern China. By 1237, Mongol armies had crossed into Russia, devastating the principalities of Kiev and Rus. Meanwhile, Genghis Khan's second son, Chagatai, governed Central Asia, while his youngest son, Tolui, held the Mongol heartland. Tolui's descendants, especially his sons Mongke and Kublai Khan, would dominate even larger territories. Kublai Khan, crowned Emperor of China in 1271, founded the Yuan dynasty, becoming the first non-Han ruler to unify all of China. This expansion ensured that Genghis Khan's bloodline spread far beyond Mongolia. By the 13th century, Mongol princes had married into royal families across Persia, Russia, and China. Genghis Khan had more than 500 direct descendants, many of whom held political power across Eurasia for generations. His lineage was not just a curiosity, it became a foundation for dynastic rule in multiple regions. Genetic studies today reveal the staggering reach of his descendants. A 2003 study by geneticist Dr. Chris Tyler Smith found that nearly 8% of men in a large region of Asia, roughly 16 million people, share a Y chromosome pattern that can be traced back to a single common ancestor from Mongolia, likely Genghis Khan. This makes him perhaps the single most prolific male ancestor in human history. Through his sons and grandsons, Genghis Khan's descendants influenced the politics of Persia, establishing the Ilkhanate, ruled by Hulagu Khan, who sacked Baghdad in 1258, ending the Abbasid Caliphate. In Russia, the Mongol Golden Horde ruled for over 2 centuries, with rulers often tracing their ancestry directly to Genghis Khan. Even in China, the Yuan dynasty persisted until 1368, with the ruling Khans claiming direct descent from the Mongol warlord. Across the continent, this network of family ties ensured that Genghis Khan's blood was intertwined with kings, khans, and emperors, effectively spreading his influence across centuries. After the death of Genghis Khan, his descendants did more than conquer, they ruled. The Ilkhanate in Persia, established by Hulagu Khan, controlled modern-day Iran, Iraq, and parts of Turkey. Hulagu's descendants governed the region for nearly a century, shaping political, religious, and cultural life long after the initial conquest. In Russia, the Golden Horde ruled for over 2 centuries, with leaders like Batu Khan, a grandson of Genghis Khan, extracted tribute from Russian princes, influencing the formation of the Muscovite state. Many Russian noble families, including some early tsars, could trace partial ancestry to Mongol rulers, showing the long shadow of Genghis Khan's lineage on Eastern Europe. In China, Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, completed the Mongol conquest and founded the Yuan dynasty in 1271. The Yuan rulers maintained power until 1368, when the Ming dynasty restored Han rule. Yet the influence of Genghis Khan's family persisted through intermarriage and political alliances, leaving a lasting imprint on Chinese governance and culture. Beyond the medieval period, Mongol ancestry continued to influence politics. Through intermarriages with royal families, Genghis Khan's descendants became intertwined with the Timurid dynasty in Central Asia, which later influenced the Mughal Empire in India. The founder of the Mughal Empire, Babur, 1483 to 1530, proudly traced his ancestry to both Timur, Tamerlane, and Genghis Khan, blending 2 of the most powerful dynastic bloodlines in history. Through this network of descendants, Genghis Khan's bloodline quietly extended across Asia, influencing rulers, empires, and dynasties for centuries. Historians note that in some regions, political legitimacy was still measured by ancestral connection to the Great Khan, long after the Mongol Empire itself had fragmented. Even today, the genetic footprint of Genghis Khan is astonishing. Modern DNA studies show that his lineage appears not just in Mongolia and China, but across Central Asia, Iran, Afghanistan, and even parts of Eastern Europe. In effect, millions of people alive today carry the Y chromosome of one man who lived 800 years ago. From political dynasties to everyday citizens, his bloodline quietly endures. The irony of history is striking. Genghis Khan, a man who built his empire on conquest and bloodshed, continues to exert influence not through armies, but through his bloodline. Millions of men alive today carry his Y chromosome, unknowingly linking them to a 12th century Mongol warlord. His descendants ruled kingdoms, founded dynasties, and shaped nations from China to Persia, Russia, and India. Even when the Mongol Empire itself fell apart, the bloodlines persisted. The blood of Genghis Khan became more enduring than any fortress, more persistent than any army. Historians and geneticists now recognize that his legacy is both human and biological. It reminds us that history is not only made by actions, but by inheritance. A conqueror who killed millions left behind a living testament. His genetic and cultural footprint continues to shape the world centuries after his death. So the next time you look at a map of Eurasia or consider the dynasties of the past, remember this: the hand of Genghis Khan still reaches across the centuries. His empire may have crumbled, his cities may have been rebuilt, but his bloodline quietly persists, a hidden empire running through the veins of millions around the world. In the end, Genghis Khan didn't just conquer lands. He conquered time itself, leaving a legacy that no battle, no empire, and no king could erase.